Nigeria crosses 40,000 mark of confirmed coronavirus cases.
Abuja Kaduna train services set to resume with 100% increase in fares.
First class, 6,000 naira. Business class, 5,000. Economy, 3,000.
Flood sacks community in Giri, Abuja.
There's nothing anybody could have done because it was very early in the morning.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss mines and steel development in Nigeria.
Nigeria is endowed with abundant resources, and its large expanse of land is a repository of more than 40 different solid minerals domiciled in almost 500 locations across the nation.
That's right, Kirian, just name it, from gold to iron, bitumen, marble, granite, limestone, whether metallic or industrial minerals, and indeed some of the most exotic minerals. Nigeria is blessed with substantial deposits of such valuables, which ought to be the mainstay of our economy.
Certainly, but unfortunately, Nigeria's solid minerals potential is still largely untapped, with the sector accounting for a paltry less than 1% contribution to national gross domestic product (GDP), unlike some African countries. Botswana, for instance, which boasts of 38% of its GDP from solid minerals alone.
Well, Nigeria's inability to fully exploit its solid minerals potential is largely due to the absence of requisite mining infrastructure, and moreover, mining today in the country is still predominantly artisanal, with the preponderance of illegal miners whose unlicensed activities do not profit government coffers.
Well, of course, Kingsley, when the government left what it should do over the years, would you blame artisans, from trying to live life, make life, even though they're doing it unconstitutionally and illegally, if you like, but it's all part of existence. People want to live, and they saw these minerals as a way out. That's why they went in there. In any case, that's not the right thing to do. But this time around, the government is trying to get it right. Well, in fact, many of these artisanal and unlicensed miners still till the soil for deposits of gold, iron, ore, lead, zinc, and tin, with some going as far as exporting in the raw form to benefit their pockets without any value accruing to the nation.
That's what you just said, Kirian, a while ago. Now, as a game changer, the present administration is developing a downstream policy to regulate artisanal mining and also to woo investors to come in and build a more formidable industry.
And this is certainly why President Muhammadu Buhari recently launched the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative in Abuja, an initiative he says will improve gold mining operations in the country, as well as generate no fewer than 250,000 jobs and over $500 million annually in royalties and taxes to the federal government.
That sounds exciting and interesting, and even more interesting is last week's presidential directive to the Ministries of Petroleum Resources as well as Mines and State Development to bring up effective strategies towards enhancing, stimulating, and encouraging local production of bitumen in the country. Now, bitumen is used for road construction, and quotations for that product from contractors are usually very costly, and this is in spite of the fact that Nigeria is reputed as having the second largest deposit of bitumen in the world.
Not just bitumen, Kingsley. Nigeria is largely endowed when it comes to raw materials, not just for road construction, but every other production. The production chain in Nigeria, the raw materials are much. It just depends on us to see how we can make use of them adequately. Now, the presidential resolve for mines and steel development in Nigeria is a pointer that things are beginning to look up for the sector. And the government is already projecting the sector to contribute about 3% to the country's GDP by 2025?
Well, that would still be a far cry from expectations, but quite an ambitious attempt in the short term to return Nigeria to the days of yore. That's to say in the 60s, especially when Nigeria was renowned for mining tin in the north-central, coal in the southeast. Now, the government of the day, that's presently, is also set to reverse nearly 40 years of abandonment of the Ajaokuta Steel Complex in Kogi State. And this is through a government-to-government deal with Russia to revive the steel company built by the USSR in the first instance.
Yeah, so if you like, life is about beginning at 40 for the Ajaokuta Steel Company. And if going efforts by government, anything to go by, what more are in the works to stimulate the mines and steel sector in Nigeria, and what is in it for economic growth and Nigeria's prosperity?
Well, we are having the Honorable Minister of Mines and Steel Development joining us in the studio later on to shed light on the sector, plus other guests. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. I welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. And we are broadcasting from the nation's capital, Abuja. It's another wet morning here, but Kirian, the temperatures are also pretty low.
Exactly. And I am Kirian Umayo, joining my colleague Kingsley to say welcome to this first edition of Good Morning Nigeria on a Monday. Of course, we're going to have a jolly good ride from now till the end of today's edition of the program. We'll be bringing you news very shortly, but also to let you know that we're going to serve you the complimentary segments in the course of the program. Nolene Ebelame is here for the morning news. Nolene, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Kirian. Good morning to you and Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria. Here is the news. Nigeria's COVID-19 cases has risen to a total of 40,532, with the Nigeria Center for Disease Control confirming 555 new cases in 18 states on Sunday. Out of the 555 new cases, Lagos has 156 cases, Kano 65, Ogun 57, Plateau 54, Oyo 53, and Benue 43. FCT recorded 30 new cases, 18 in Ondo, 16 in Kaduna, 13 each in Akwa Ibom and Gombe, 12 in Rivers, 9 in Ekiti, 8 in Oshun, 3 in Cross River. Borno and Edo states recorded 2 cases, while Bayelsa has 1 confirmed case this time around. On the case chart for states, Lagos State still leads with 14,456 confirmed cases, followed by FCT with 3,481 cases, while Oyo is third on the table with 2,570 cases. Out of the 40,532 confirmed cases in Nigeria, 17,374 patients who recovered have been discharged, with the death toll now 858. After more than 4 months of shutdown arising from COVID-19, there are indications that Abuja-Kaduna rail station will resume services on Wednesday, July the 29th. Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi gave the indication during the inspection of new coaches for Abuja-Kaduna rail line, adding that strict compliance with COVID-19 health advisory are already ensured.
Before, the new fares, first class 6,000 naira, business class 5,000, economy 3,000.
I have always held the view that the fares were too low, and that's what has led to the racketeering. So why shouldn't the government capture that? So it is quite right. I fully support the decision by the federal government to increase the fares.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, has approved resumption of full domestic flight operations in 8 more airports across the country, apart from the initial 6. Sirika, who made this known on his Twitter handle, stated that ministerial approvals in and out of those airports were not required. The 14 airports, which now has the nod for resumption of domestic flight operations, are Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos; Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja; Malam Aminu Kano International Airport, Kano; Port Harcourt International Airport, Omagwa; Sam Mbakwe Airport, Owerri; and Maiduguri Airport, Maiduguri. Others are Victor Atta Airport, Uyo; Kaduna Airport, Kaduna; Yola Airport, Yola; Margaret Airport, Calabar; Sultan Abubakar Airport, Sokoto; Birnin Kebbi Airport; Yakubu Gowon Airport, Jos; and Benin Airport, Benin. The Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs has urged Muslims to use the advantage of having 3 sermons for Hajj, Eid al-Kabir and Jumat within 2 days to pray for divine intervention in security and COVID-19 pandemic ravaging the world. A statement signed by the Deputy Secretary General, Professor Salisu Shehu, admonished the Ummah to observe the Sunnah of fasting on Arafat Day and other acts of worship prescribed by Sharia to seek Allah's favor during this sacred period. The statement notes that the 2020 Eid al-Kabir is coming at an unusual time where normalcy has become abnormal, with social gatherings and large congregational prayers affected. It said, since the Eid al-Prayer is not a compulsory act of worship, Muslims should observe in their area mosque where congregational prayers are not allowed, while all non-pharmaceutical protocols should be strictly adhered to where such is allowed. The Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs also admonished those who intended to go for Hajj pilgrimage this year but are unable to do so due to COVID-19 to consider using part of the funds for charitable causes that are capable of earning them the reward of Hajj and much more. Towards achieving a crash-free 2020 Salah celebration, the Corps Marshal Federal Road Safety Corps Boboye Oyemi has approved massive deployment of personnel across the nation's roads. The Corps Public Education Officer BC Kazim says that deployment is to ensure free flow of traffic and safe monitoring environment during the season. Already, the Corps Marshal has directed commanding officers to collaborate with COVID-19 task force teams and security agencies to ensure maximum compliance with established laws, orders and directives on physical distancing, compulsory use of face masks and restrictions of movement across states. The special patrol is to commence from 29th July to 8th of August 2020. A raging flood resulting from Saturday's early morning rainfall has sacked a community in Giri along the Gogolada Highway in the nation's capital. Our correspondent reports that a flood disaster washed away a household with a family of 5.
There's nothing anybody could have done because it was very early in the morning when every other person were trying to save or rescue him or herself. So they were so unfortunate they couldn't make it out.
The what happened 2015 is not be like this. This very one, it just came to just by 6 o'clock. This thing we don't even aware anything. Before I just come out to my door, water don't enter my door.
It is on this sad note that we conclude the news. The program continues with Kinsley and Kieran after this break. I am Nolin Ebel Ame.
The main way coronavirus spread is when infected people sneeze and cough. Small droplets of fluid expelled by cough or sneezes are laced with viruses looking for new respiratory tracts to infect. When a sick person sneezes around someone who is healthy, the virus can land in the nose, mouth, or even the eyes, causing an infection. Symptoms can include fever, cough, shortness of breath. Symptoms may appear within 2 to 14 days. Seek medical advice if you develop symptoms and have been in close contact with a person known to have COVID-19, or if you live or have recently been in an area with ongoing spread of COVID-19. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Introducing the new and tasty Peak Yogurt. The nourishment to be you, do you, and go for you. Peak Yogurt comes in orange, strawberry, and plain sweetened flavour. All available in nearby stores.
Nigerians, let us take responsibility. Stay healthy, stay safe, and curb the spread of the virus. Take responsibility. The coronavirus spreads from one person to another. Let us avoid crowd gathering of any kind for any reason. Take responsibility. Avoid traveling from one state to another during these lockdown restrictions. Obey all the rules that are put in place. Take responsibility. Stop spreading fake news and unverified reports about the coronavirus. There is no known cure for COVID-19. Take responsibility. Observe all the measures that can help stop the spread of the virus. Together, we can do this, but only if we take responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
For over 70 years, we've practiced healthy hygiene habits together. The world needs us to keep our fight going against germs. So let's wash our hands for 20 seconds regularly. Dettol. Protect what's worth fighting for.
Nigerians, coronavirus is dangerous. It can kill. When you see this sign, high fever, cough, shortness of breath, drowsiness, pneumonia, don't panic, don't hide. Don't embark in self-medication. Promptly visit the nearest medical facility. Report all cases to the nearest hospital. Prevention is key. Avoid contact with infected persons. Avoid crowded areas as much as possible. Wash your hands regularly. Use hand sanitizers. Your life is precious. Stay alive. Live long, live right. This message is sponsored by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture and the Nigerian Film Corporation. Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibility.
Wake up, wake up. Nothing can hold us down. Get up. Wanna wear the crown.
Breakfast your day, every day.
Nestle, good food, good life.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Time for business news, and here is our correspondent, Kunle Adeyeye.
Conforming to the fourth industrial revolution is crucial for any country that intends to achieve economic transformation. Immediate past chairman, Nigerian Institution of Mechanical Engineers, Robinson Ejila, emphasized that the field can effectively help Nigeria achieve economic growth and structural transformation, which will lead to job creation, fix the labor skill deficit, and reposition agriculture.
National products that are competitive not only within the country, within the region, the continental, or the world in general. And we believe that once engineering is engaged in this manner, both the designers, the engineers, with their hands on the jobs, will create unbounded opportunities for gainful employment, for wealth creation, particularly for the teeming unemployed population.
In another development, to keep the economy moving amid COVID-19, an entrepreneur, Ovie Otarigo, has called for greater inclusion of the youth in the federal government's quest to achieve a productive economy. He said the Asian tigers invested in their population, which positively changed their economic status.
That's how nations around the world grow. Small startup employ 1 or 2 persons, and before you know it, a youth employ another youth. It's creating job for people. Imagine if 10,000 young people are supported in their business and not just giving them money, but supporting in managing the business. In the next 10 years, that 10,000 people invested upon can produce about 20 million employees.
He also advised youths to step out of comfort zones and be innovative. With Business News, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Kunle for that business package. And next on Good Morning Nigeria is a review of today's national dailies.
All right, newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atebe is right here with us in the studios. Bayo, good morning and welcome. We hope you had a nice weekend.
Yes, thank you, Kinsley. Good morning. Good morning, Kelia. Good morning,
Yes,
Nigeria.
good to see you, Bayo. On a Monday morning.
Yes.
All right, let's begin with the Daily Trust newspaper from top to bottom. Why I returned to APC, says Dogara, as on page 28. Fani Kayode's chieftaincy title, irreversible, Emir of Shinkafi. That's on page 4. Idel Kabir, Zamfara, government distributes over 5,000 rams, 993 cows. That's on page 3. As COVID-19 delays Dangote refinery, oil import takes toll on earnings. Nigeria's revenue drops by 40%, says VP. Lagos Ibadan rail projects also affected. All details of that story is on page 5. All right, you could see the photo story of the Dangote, well sophisticated and complex Dangote refinery. All right, and below that we have some of 80,000 Nigerians stranded abroad held as slaves. That's on page 4. Man, 22, commits suicide over girlfriend. Unbelievable. That's on page 6. I remitted 329 billion naira into NNPC accounts, says Magu. Magu, of course, was the former acting chairman of the EFCC. Kinsley.
All right, Kieran, thank you very much. Let's take a look at the window page of the Nation newspaper. The Nation, above the nameplate, let's take two of those headlines. MBF, that's the Middle Belt Forum, seeks protection for Southern Kaduna. That's on page 25 in greater detail. NDDC got 946.91 billion naira in 18 years. That's almost a trillion naira in 18 years. With a rider, 70 million naira hotel bills queried. That's also on page 25. Below the nameplate, Edo 2020. APC and PDP trade blames over supporters clash. And Eze Yamu receives Enigie blessings. Let's just make a slight correction to that. You see on the headline there, it says Enigies. That's not correct. It's in singular form, it is Enogie. In plural form, it is Enigie without the S. All right, details of that story you find on page 4. Federal, states, and others review terms for schools reopening, with the rider decision on return of exit class pupils to be taken today. That story continues on page 8. Banks cancel 1.9 trillion naira bad loans. And it says there that commercial banks have written off 1.9 trillion naira bad loans from their books in the last 4 years. And that's according to a report by Augusto and Co. And stamp duty row in Senate. It says the Senate will engage FIRS over the 6% stamp duty on rent, lease, and others, the agency recently announced. I recall that this matter came up last week on Good Morning Nigeria, so we'll have some opportunity of just making a comment or two on that. Osun Senator under attack. And then Azura power plant deal signed in 2013. Details on the front page there with a continuation on page 8. EFCC DSS shifts probe to CCB, that's Code of Conduct Bureau. Kaduna Abuja rail operations resume on Wednesday, page 4.
Well, the good news is that the train services that stopped for, I think, March 22nd, that's when it was stopped for the coronavirus lockdown, is to resume on Wednesday. However, it is going to resume with new impetuses. Some coaches that were imported have now arrived. In fact, there are now 3 categories. There is the business class, there is the first class, and there is also the ordinary class, otherwise referred to as the third class. And prices have gone up almost 100%. This will go a long way in relieving commuters between Kaduna and Abuja. However, they will now have to pay a higher fare. Kaduna State Governor was commenting that it is good to review the fare upwards because initially the fare that were charged were for corporate purposes and corporate social responsibility purposes for people to get used to the services, and it was not necessarily economical. And this increase by 100% will go a long way to reduce the elements of racketeering that was going on at the ticketing. The minister also hinted that they were going to consider in the long term electronic ticketing to also eliminate the incidences of racketeering. By way of update on COVID-19, Nigeria has now a total cases of 40,532, and we have so far registered 855 deaths. By records, last Friday we had 591 cases in 17 states, Saturday 438 in 24 states, and yesterday we had 555 in 18 states. If we go down across the country, Gombe has had no case so far for 5 days, and the same thing Benue and Anambra. Zamfara has gone 7 days without any case. Kogi has recorded 22 days without any state. The record was held by Sokoto. Sokoto had gone for 24 days without any COVID-19 case. But however, yesterday, Dr. Ali Nami announced a new case that has been discovered in Sokoto. So Sokoto, we can conveniently say, will begin to bend the curve for COVID-19 as far as Nigeria is concerned. Brazil recorded 41,008 new cases in one single 24 hours. And in that same period, 1,367 persons had died from COVID-19. Brazil has an infected population of about 2.2 million and has registered about 81,487 deaths. President Jair Bolsonaro, you remember him, who initially did not believe there was COVID-19, had tested positive, and there are reports indicating that he has tested positive again.
Yeah, some of those presidents, well, should I say, deceived their...
Testing positive twice.
Their nation, yes, because I've been issued, these are heads of government that should have a better understanding of what the reality is, and you go on TV to tell your people that it doesn't exist. So it's unbelievable, and now he's gotten the thing on 2 occasions, right? So he has to be very careful, right? You are talking about Brazil and other. America has recorded 1,000 deaths in 4 consecutive days last week. 1,000 deaths in 4 consecutive days. So that tells you how ravaging COVID-19 is in the western part of this world. It's really unbecoming. Kinsley, what will bring you in here? I mean, this number of deaths in America, I
know America's case is mind-boggling. Over 140,000 persons have died now, and it's still spreading. Now, this is summertime. So the biology of the virus, it's indeed very difficult to understand, because the impression was that as they got into summer, that's to say in the northern hemisphere, with warmer climate, climatic conditions, then it will be possible, of course, for the virus spread to reduce. But right now, California is now taking the lead in terms of the number of infections and even in fatalities. California is there. Texas is also
Florida
there.
as well.
Florida is also there. Yes. And so these are ordinarily warm states. And here you are, the virus is spreading like wildfire. Florida, of course, seemed a bit incautious enough to have reopened its economy rather too quickly. They even reopened They reopened
beaches,
Disney World. Disney World, and said they were observing the protocols, and then suddenly they started seeing a spike in the numbers. So it's a virus that we also have to be very careful about. Coming back home, Kirian, the greater worry is that you go to public places here in the Federal Capital Territory, and people just take this thing as though it were a joke.
Look, I'm not passing you. I passed through Kobo on Saturday morning. Yeah. Honestly, there was nothing like. In fact, I was even in the car telling people, "Your mask. You don't have a mask." I'll look through the window, and tricycle. I say, "You don't have mask." So look, people are living normal. With the population as well matters. People moving left and right. I mean, traffic and all of that, and people are not even observing anything. It's unfortunate. I don't want to at the beginning of this pandemic, we had someone was quoted as saying, "Look, that I see deaths on the streets of Africa, or Nigeria in particular. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that but the behavior of Nigerians towards this pandemic, it's appalling because
almost an invitation to disaster.
Exactly.
It's very, very alarming. I had cause to go out. I was wearing a face mask. I looked like a Tuareg among people, and everybody seemed to look at me as if, what is wrong with this?
It's a curious object.
Yes,
it's a curious object. I went to the grocery to get some fruits, and Nigerians, the gentleman who wanted to give me the bulletin to take the grocery, he decided to wet his. I said, "Don't stop it, stop it." Just hand me the what leather, so they call it, the polythene bag. Let me take it myself. I pried it open and then say, pour it inside, and then don't touch it. How much is it? So I was sure that I had the requisite amount of change on me. Gave it to him. Of course, you have your hand sanitizer. You quickly use it, and then when you are using it, they are looking at you. In the meantime, the majority person who was talking to me, no face mask. Others who are around him, they are looking at you curiously.
It's unfortunate.
Yes, big time. I think we have to be careful. Well, 2 points very quickly. The one on the reopening of the Abuja-Kaduna train services and the alibi that if you increase the fares, then you are likely to beat the ticket racketeers. I don't see how that argument can hold.
Me too.
We will see. We will see how that pans out. Are you saying that a price hike is not necessarily a disincentive to ticket racketeering? If anything, it's likely
to increase racketeering.
That
is more profitable now.
Absolutely.
More profitable.
Absolutely. And what is the duration of a train trip from Abuja, say Idu Station to Rigasa, which is in Kaduna? Why would you charge 3,000 for that? How much is the road?
2 hours.
2 hours, yes. How much is these golf cabs that apply the route? How much is that?
It's talking about 1,000 to 1,000.
Precisely. Exactly. And train services, I mean, ordinary, first class train service is 6,000 naira. Are they going to be serving you on board? Second class or business class, 5,000. I think it's excessive. It's excessive. The government can still break even without those excessive charges. And just one last point about the stamp duty rate. Last week when the matter came up, and they said 6% stamp duty on rent agreements, on lease agreements. Now there is more clarification. It is not 6% on every rent agreement. It is for rent agreement of 21 years and above. Now, of course, that would be a lease, by the way. A lease agreement 21 years and above. The normal rent below 7 years would attract a stamp duty of 0.78%. 0.78%. And if you are a sitting tenant, you don't sign an agreement every year. So it is for fresh agreements that you need to pay that stamp duty of 0.78%. And the landlord, of course...
Is it the landlord that is to pay or the tenant?
No, it's the tenant. The liability is on the tenant. But the landlord then serves as the collecting agent if it is a company that is involved, it serves as a collecting agent for the FRS.
All right, and this is happening in a country where landlords have a free day. I mean, you just build your house, put any amount of money as rent, nobody cares. There's no regulation. I mean, it's appalling at this point,
Yes, people are advocating for rent control because some of the rent that is charged in some cities are seriously outrageous.
We have to appreciate you here.
There's concern about flood now, and it's coming closer to Abuja too. Over the weekend in Suleja, flood died seriously to Ungwangwari, And also, Gwagwalada, Giri Junction, massive flood sweeping away the place. The danger here is that, in spite of the earlier warning from NIMET and the National Meteorological Association, people are not taking it seriously. And I think the agencies responsible for urban development must make sure that those who have property development in flood plains are evacuated.
Okay, Bayo, we'd like to appreciate you this morning, for this analysis. That issue of flood is very devastating, especially in that area you mentioned. So at this point, we'd like to thank you for being here this morning. Hope to see you again tomorrow as we continue our analysis on newspaper review on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you too.
All right. Well, we're glad you're still watching the program. We're going to take a short break now. When we get back, of course, we're going to be dealing with the issue of mines and national development.
The coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, is spreading at an alarming rate all over the globe, including Nigeria. With the number of infected persons in Nigeria increasing daily, prevention is better than cure. Coronavirus has no cure. The virus spreads from one person, who affects two persons, and by the time the affected person is isolated, the two persons have affected four, and it keeps spreading. You must take preventive measures to save yourself and that of the people around you. Always wash your hands with soap and water. Put distance between yourself and others. Whenever you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth. Clean and disinfect surfaces. Stay at home if you're sick and contact the proper authorities. Together, we can cut down the spread of the coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest TV network.
Treat your family to a cereal that's made from the natural goodness of maize and soya protein and specially combined with Grain Smart, a smart combination of vitamins and iron, so that they have the right kind of energy to help them reach their full potential and turn the simple into amazing. Eat up and carry go, because nothing do you. Golden Morn, make every day amazing.
Nestle, good food, good life.
You clean your teeth every morning, but that fresh breath feeling just doesn't last. The answer? Easy. You keep your teeth strong and healthy and give your mouth long-lasting fresh breath with new Oral-B 2-in-1 toothpaste. It helps strengthen your teeth and gives you long-lasting fresh breath.
So fresh, still fresh, and still fresh.
Stay strong, stay fresh. New Oral-B toothpaste for strong teeth and long-lasting fresh breath.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
Close-up deep action with antibacterial formula and deep cleaning gel keeps your teeth clean and protected. Close-up deep action. Enjoy long-lasting fresh breath and more.
All right, you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of NTA. Our conversation this morning is on mines and steel development in Nigeria. And to introduce the discussion, here is a background report as put together by Oyeyemi Ajayi.
Nigeria is blessed with a wide range of mineral resources sufficient to develop the country with surplus economic fortunes. Since inception, the present administration pushed and campaigned for diversification from a mono economy which the country has been operating for decades. Different sectors showed promising potentials, including the mines and steels. In 2016, the federal government launched a new mining roadmap which aspired to build a world-class minerals and mining ecosystem designed to serve a targeted domestic and export market. This became imperative to utilize the vast opportunities in the mines and steel sector and bring about a significant shift from the series of illegal activities and sabotage occasioned by illegal mining. The reconstitution of the board of the Solid Minerals Development Fund, SMDF, and the Bank of Industry's launch of a 5 billion naira fund to provide single-digit interest loans for mining projects set the ball rolling to rejig the sector. The Nigerian Institute of Mining and Geosciences, JOS, Establishment Act received presidential assent in November 2016 for research and training of manpower for the sector. The federal government in 2018 also presented a roadmap for the development of Nigeria's industrial minerals, developed by the World Bank Assisted Minerals Sector Support for Economic Diversification projects. Recently, the federal government launched a gold purchase program as part of the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative, designed to put a stop to illegal mining in Nigeria, standardize the activity, and mobilize the enormously untapped resource potentials in the sector. There is also a strategic focus on bitumen and steel to harness the full potential of these resources for economic development and to position the sector to contribute 3% of the country's GDP by 2025. What is the blueprint to harness the vast potential of the mines and steel sector? Guest on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria will provide answers shortly.
Many thanks for that backgrounder. And with us in the studios this morning to discuss the issue, we would like to welcome the Honorable Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Architect Alabileko Adegbite. Honorable Minister, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here.
Also here with us in the studios is the Chairman of Senate Committee on Mines and Steel, is the former Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Distinguished Senator Tanko Almakura. Senator, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
And it's also interesting that we have in the studio the President, Miners Association of Nigeria, Kabir Mohammed Kankara. I hope I got the name correctly.
Correct.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, gentlemen, once again, I'd like to have you with us on this conversation. Let's begin first with the Honorable Minister of Mines and Steel Development. You listened to that background report. During your predecessor's tenure, there was a roadmap that was unveiled for the solid minerals sector. And indeed, when the country slipped into a recession in 2016, lasting for several quarters, agriculture and solid minerals were the growth sectors in the economy. Since then, what has been happening and what is the fate of the roadmap?
Well, the roadmap is essentially a 10-year guide, 2015-2025, to provide where short-term, medium-term, and long-term, where we would love to be. And we've used 2025 as a yardstick. We said, look, by 2025, we should be contributing about 5% to the GDP of the country. So that's why that date, 2025, and how to get there. Right now, we're doing close to 1%. And we said, that's 5 years' time now, we should be doing about 5% to the GDP. So the roadmap is on course. One of the initiatives that comes out of the roadmap is what I started when I came into office, and that's part of the beneficiation, that's the downstream policy, where either though we've been taking out our minerals, we've been taking out our minerals in the raw form, and of course thereby we lose a lot of money in that form. The ultimate goal is that no mineral will leave Nigeria as raw ore anymore. That's the ultimate goal. We'll build beneficiation plant, but not by government. Government will provide infrastructure, the incentives for investors to come in clusters along economic corridors where you will build these beneficiation centers so people who mine can sell to these people who will do the beneficiation, the processor, and then we can now sell processed product to the industries locally first before you export. Because what we find out is that a lot of these products that are sent out in the raw form is now processed into the semi-finished product and now sold back to the country, to the industry who use them we have the paint industry, you have the pharmaceutical industry, and so on and so on. So all these products that they use as raw materials are actually products who leave these shores, go out there, they get beneficiation, and then they are now imported back into the country. And that's not very good. So that's what all this downstream policy is all about, which is that phase where we are now on the roadmap.
Yes, honestly speaking, talking about road maps, so we've seen road maps since 1999. Some of us who've been in the media all that while had the privilege of interviewing ministers of Mines and Steel, and we keep hearing about road maps. So the development trajectory of this sector has been downwards in terms of review. Right now, the one you spoke to a short while ago with respect to the downstream, of the roadmap, which of course will culminate into having, a value addition. Are you having value addition? What are the industries to convert gold into into the value we're talking about? We don't have that industrially. We're not developed. Now, we've also had in the past, what is called a gestation period, within which you can, establish a contractual agreement with perhaps multinationals who are going to be part of a mechanized mining in Nigeria. They never came to fruition. Now, that was why exactly, the artisans, went into that, because it's a huge gap. The artisans, catch on that and doing artisanal mining. Has led to so many things, lead poisoning and what have you. Honorable Minister, sir, this roadmap you spoke to, what are the specifics? Nigerians will want to begin to see specific, development, something you can feel, right? 1% is not enough, having had roadmaps over the years, So please, make it clearer, so that we can understand where this roadmap is going and when Nigerians can begin to feel the impact of this roadmap.
First, I must say, sorry to say this, your analysis is totally wrong. Your analysis is wrong. Once upon a time, mining was the mainstay in Nigeria and contributed...
Before 1999?
Yes, before 1999.
Exactly.
It contributed to the economy. And the problem we have in mining is simply oil and gas. When oil and gas was discovered, of course, everybody shifted because, especially with the price of oil spiking in the international market, it was a lot easier and cheaper, so everybody went into oil and gas.
Exactly.
Because even the infrastructure in oil and gas was built by money from mining. And the indigenization decree of 1975 sort of sent all the major players, 1972, thank you, sent the major players out of Nigeria. So mining went into doldrums. And when you're talking of artisanal miners, it's not so much the gap. Artisanal miners are mostly people who, you could say, have come into mining because that's what they saw their parents doing. It's not so much filling any gap. It was a natural thing. That's why we call it artisanal. These are people who eke out a living from mining. So it's not so much they are filling a gap. There is a resource in their backyard. And of course, they till the ground and, get money from it. So it's not so much they are filling any gap, but as a necessity for their livelihood. That's what the artisanal miner is all about. And you see, so far, the only roadmap we've had is the one I'm telling you about. There has not been any roadmap in 1999. Not that I know of. I've been in the ministry for almost a year now. There was no roadmap in 1999. The roadmap we have, which is documented and of course is codified, is the one I'm telling you about, 2015, 2025. That's the one that's written down. If anybody was talking about it, maybe they had the idea. But then, when experts were called in, stakeholders were called in, and they contributed to something that was published. That was in 2015, and it covers a 10-year period. And it's got so many things in it. And that's why I said, instead of boring you with all the details, I said, look, because that's 5 years down the line now, the roadmap. I said, we're at that stage now. And you see, there are so many positives that's come from this, from the roadmap, from the mining sector itself. This is an industry that was contributing less than 0.03. It's now come to 1%. That's a lot of leap. If you look at it, 0.0, that's like 100 times. It's gone up 100 times now to come to 1%, almost 1% now. So there's been a lot of increment in that. And sincerely, until the advent of this administration, President Muhammadu Buhari, who came in 2015, it's been mostly lip service. It's become cliche. Let's diversify the economy. Let's diversify the economy. Everybody says that, but nobody actually acts in that direction. President Muhammadu Buhari put money where the mouth is. is the first president to grant extra budgetary allocation to the sector. They gave us 30 billion in 2017. And that has transformed the sector. And it leads into the growth we are seeing today. I saw on your, before, while I was outside there was this thing about PAGMI. That's part of what this process has led us to. Now we go on road shows all over the world. People are now clamoring to come to Nigeria, even not for COVID. I was in Canada early March at the PDAC conference, and a lot of people wanted to come to Nigeria to come and do mining, all these big names, because mining is all about data, it's knowledge. You can't do mining in the dark. It's not like any other business. You know, you say there's gold there. I want to know the gold there, whether it's commercially viable. When you do your aeromagnetic survey, you know, you fly your aeroplanes all over the place, and it gives you indication that there's something there. But what is there might not be commercially viable, though it's there. So you're going to spend a lot of money to get to where it is, only to find out that, oh, you wasted your money. Nobody wants to do that. It's a lot of risk. And that's why banks won't lend to that sector at that level. To de-risk the sector, the money the federal government had given us, we spend half of that, about 15 billion, on exploration. There's a National Integrated Mineral Exploration Project. It's called NIMEP, which we've done. And it's given us a lot of good results. So when we go on the road show, a lot of people love this. And they say, oh, you got this, you got this. You see, now because we've done exploration by ourselves, we've taken the risk as a government to say, okay, yes, we've got this here, and it's viable for you to go there. So we are getting to what they call the bankable data stage. That's the word. Everybody wants to show that, oh, it's bankable. Look, for example, we've got this company, a Canadian company, that is mining gold in Osun State. Because they got bankable data. Investors are scrambling. I saw a publication recently, people from that area, Elisha area, saying that they're trying to aggregate money amongst themselves, that they must partake in that. They want to buy into it. Everybody loves success story. But before you get there, you need to spend money. And that's why I said, thanks to President Muhammadu Buhari, he's the first president that gave money to that sector, you know, extra budgetary. Because you can't do that with all this budget that we get.
I'm just wondering, Kieran.
Exactly. Sorry, what he said is apt, really, you know. But of course, from 1999, that ministry has also been in existence. People have been doing things, but they never worked. That was why I went back to 1999. But of course, what he said is right. From 2015, things began to change. I appreciate that.
All right, Honorable Minister, I mean, you're already touching on one of the main pillars of the roadmap, which is investment, attraction of investment. The story is that we had heard of and seen road shows in the past. They went to Australia, went to South Africa, went to Latin America, and more particularly also to Canada. But unfortunately, it appeared that those road shows never gained traction in terms of attracting the right kind of investment. But there are other aspects of the roadmap, infrastructure. Because a number of guests on Good Morning Nigeria have often complained about mining infrastructure, plus security, which has also been one of the issues. I recall that the former Minister of Mines, who was your predecessor, and now back to Ekiti as governor, said that they were reviving the Inspectorate Division to check the activities of illegal miners and so on and so forth. So where are we on these other legs? One, infrastructure, and two, mining site security.
Okay, essentially, that's part of what I was saying. You needed a lot of investment, not by investors from outside, but from government itself to provide those things. And one of them is the exploration. So the part of the fund given, we've taken, because exploration is the most important thing in mining. We've done that. Now, the next stage, which is part of the beneficiation we are doing. You know, I spoke about clusters. I was trying to be brief because I know I have my chairman here, and of course the chairman of my president of the Mining Association of Nigeria, so that I could be as brief as possible. But you see, what we're doing now is creating economic corridors. That's what we call them. Creating infrastructure around that. One of that is the rail line. The rail line that comes all the way from Warri, you know, in Alaja, and goes through Itakpe to Ajaokuta. That is what we call a central spine. And we are making that a corridor, an economic corridor, such that we are creating clusters around that corridor so that mining activity can connect easily to those places. Because you see, what we need essentially in those clusters, you need power infrastructure. You need transportation infrastructure. In transportation infrastructure, now the rail line has been rehabilitated. It's good to go. We also got private investors interested into our waterways. I'm sure you probably heard of Sea-Link. This is using the waterways in Nigeria to transport commodities, mining commodities up and down. So in terms of infrastructure, government is doing so much, putting so much money, also attracting private investors. Like the Sea-Link is a private initiative, but it's something that's good for us. They're going to use the waterways in Nigeria to move goods up and down, finished processed products, and of course, raw mining materials to processing center. When it comes to security, like I said, everything seems to have been happening since 2015. We've created what we call the mining police in Nigeria, surveillance police. Government bought a lot of vehicles. I sit as the chairman of that body. It's got the National Security Advisor on it. It's got the Chief of Army Staff. It's got the Commandant of the Civil Defense. It's got the IG of Police, and it's got the DSS in it. We all sit together at the apex of that body. Well, essentially, what we do is because mining takes place in remote locations, inside the forest and all that. So we have what we call more or less scouts. Our federal mines officer who sits at the top of the mining ministry in every state. We have what we call a federal mines officer who is the head of the ministry in the state. They ferret out information, through third parties and all. And once we know of any illegal activity taking place, of course, we deploy these mining police to dislodge that. We've had some successes on that as well. Recently, we arrested some foreign nationals and all that. I must say this, that Nigerians, artisanal miners are not illegal. We don't consider them illegal. So they are eking out their livings. There's this, we may come to that. We're making separate arrangements for those ones. But a lot of foreigners who ride on the back of artisanal miners, hiding behind them to commit those illegalities, we go out there and arrest them. So the spate of illegality is on the downward trend in Nigerian mining industry, because, like I said, a lot of money has been pumped into this, and we're getting results.
There was always the complaint of the inadequacy of your staff in the inspectorate division, plus insufficiency of patrol vehicles. What is the situation now?
Well, that's what I said. It's improved a lot. Part of that funding, I keep referring to that. Over 200 vehicles were purchased, Hiluxes and all that. And it's not uncommon now that you have, at least per state, 2 or even 3 Hilux vehicles at the disposal of the federal mines officer at that place. The federal mines officer himself has one, which is, then we have what we call the Miremco. Miremco is like the state body. There's also a vehicle for that. So almost every state now has 2 or 3 vehicles, patrol vehicles, at their disposal to go into the remote locations to see the activity that is going on. And of course, they might be unable to deploy or dislodge this illegality, but then they escalate it to the headquarters, and I said we sit at the apex, then we can now deploy the mining police, of course, to those areas. We'll make an arrest, and then we'll do all that is necessary.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Minister, for your immense contributions this morning, laying the background, for the conversation to move on. On the aspect of security, of course, you're going to have a little difficulty, as my colleague Kingsley pointed out, because, of course, this era of banditry and what have you. So you have to really step up in that direction. Thank you so much. All right, now let's turn to the Chairman, Senate Committee on Mines and Steel, and of course, former Governor of Nasarawa State, Alhaji Tanko Al-Makura. Now, we know that Kogi State is one state that is richly endowed when it comes to mineral resources. And you have been a governor in that state for 8 years. Sorry, just Nasarawa State, rather, sorry. Well, Kogi as well is also rich in mineral, but then Nasarawa is second,
Nasarawa brags as the
state exactly. So you've been a governor of that state for 8 years. And now you are in the Senate for chairing this very important committee. From the analysis of the Honorable Minister, what can you now tell us, respect to what this administration has been able to do in advancing the course of history of mines development in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. As far as we are concerned, in the 9th Senate, since we came on board about 1.5 years ago, we have seen the challenges in the industry. And part of what we think we need to do is to give a backup in terms of legislation, because we have found some contradictions within the regulation in the sector. Some of the laws, some of the acts are conflicting with themselves. So the first thing is to ensure a legal and administrative framework that will ease operation and take away contradictions and confusion within the system. Because if you don't do that, no matter how much that sector is patronized, you find at a point in time certain conflicts might impede the success of the sector. So the Senate, since we came on board, are working assiduously to see how they can support the ministry through so many activities that we have done. First of all, we had interactive session with the Honorable Minister and some of his chief executives in the various sectors of the solid mineral. We have attended seminars, lectures, and only last year, December, we organized a round table that was facilitated by the leadership of the Senate to get all the stakeholders within the system to brainstorm and actually look at the intrinsic problems that are in that sector, with a view to coming back to the Senate to regulate by making laws that will incorporate all the observations made by the stakeholders. So this is what the Senate is doing to ensure that we carry everybody along, and whatever legislation we are making or laws we are making is in line with the expectation of the people in the industry. Another thing is to embark on what we call oversight function, to go and see for ourselves the situation on ground, so that while we are making laws based on the contributions and inputs by stakeholders in the system, we are also aware of what operates in the system or on ground, whereby when we make the laws, those laws will be very effective and pragmatic.
Well, distinguished Senator, furnish us with the benefit of your experience as two-term governor of Nasarawa State, which is one of the states that is indeed very rich in solid minerals. Because there's been the lingering, testy relationship between state governments and the federal authorities, represented by the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development. How can you smoothen that relationship? And indeed, in the first instance, why do you have such frustrating relationship between the states and the federal government over solid minerals?
I think the problem emanated from the major policy or laws in that sector, because essentially the operation in that sector is in the exclusive legislative list. And there are certain instances where the state would want to partake in the implementation of some of these policies, and you find that they have a brick wall, because those policies, those leverages are only exclusive to the federal government. So we are even thinking, while I was in government, to find a way of meeting members of the National Assembly to create a platform where there should be some understanding to bring certain aspect of the mining sector into the concurrent list, so that states could participate effectively to turn around the endowment in their various states. However, like the Honorable Minister has said, a lot of problems in the mining sector are what I call the macro problem, because it's highly capital intensive sector, where the major thing is exploration. Where there are no exploration, there will be any information that is required for real-time miners to be attracted to come and partake in the industry. When you have the exploration, you have create mining jurisdiction and also have, like the minister has said, certain bankable data. And this bankable data are being done by special experts, they call it competent persons report. Once you have the exploration and you have the competent persons report, that is universally accepted. Anybody in Australia, in New Zealand, in China, in South Africa, with those bankable data, can take his bag and come straight to Nigeria because he is sure that those data are a roadmap towards making that business lucrative.
Okay, thank you, distinguished Senator. Now, let's talk to the miners themselves. Of course, the president of Miners Association of Nigeria. So you've listened to both the Minister of Mines and Steel Development and, of course, former Governor of Nasarawa State, Alhaji Tanko Al-Makura. You are talking from the point of view of miners themselves because you know exactly what the problems are. You are in the field. You have your men. And you also understand, what it takes to establish a good mining culture in Nigeria, as many countries rely on that for their survival. And now we are talking about, of course, making the sector contribute to the GDP of this country. So, in your view, what are the issues on ground, and in your opinion, what do you think should be done, to, of course, bring about mining in Nigeria without difficulties?
Yeah, thank you. I've heard all the contributions from the Honorable Minister and His Excellency Senate Chairman, Senate Committee on Solid Minerals. We, the miners, all the problems that have been highlighted by the Honorable Minister are the same problems that are, trying to reduce the activity of mining in this country. That's affecting our activities, making it as low as possible. I'm happy the government seems to know the problems. But knowing the problems is different from acting on these problems. And that is where we are today. You see, we all know that 90% of the miners in Nigeria are artisanal and small scale. I'm happy the Honorable Minister said we don't have illegal miners, which I agree, we don't have. But we are operating at a very artisanal and low level because of so many problems in terms of scale, in terms of capacity, in terms of like what the distinguished senator said, bankable data from the geoscience and geological survey reports that can attract proper and authentic mining activity. So at the end of the day, we are now left in the crossroad. We want to mine. We own the mining sites, but the mining sites are there. We cannot work on them because we lack the capacity of funds. The most important aspect of mining is funding. And it's not as cheap as other sectors. I always say it, don't compare funding in agriculture and funding in the mining sector. What the agriculture sector may need, if it needs like 1 billion, mining sector may need as much as 10 to 50 billion, whether it is in dollars or in naira. So you can see the gap in terms of the demand for the financial activity to be inputted. So we for now, we are not happy with the situation. We know it's not the problem, it's not the fault of the ministry, but maybe the government, and it has been enumerated, the past governments have neglected the mining sector and leaving all the activity at an artisanal level. So what we want is let us the funding, let us have the capacity building, let us have the clustering and formalization of our artisanal miners so that we can form them into a more formidable front so that we can climb up to a more standard that can be accepted.
Let me just give you a follow-up question for what you just said. Right.
Yes.
You are the local miners.
Yes.
And the plans of government is also looking at, bringing in investors, in that sector, perhaps from outside Nigeria or even within Nigeria, those who may have the wherewithal in terms of finances or capacity, to do that. Now, what would that be your position if such a consortium, if they have all their ways cleared, to participate in mining, what will not be the position of the local miners like you?
Of course, by the time all these bottlenecks are cleared, we have the foreign or local investors that are interested and they are come on board. All we have to do is to key in, collaborate, and see that the activity progresses. After all, there is virtually no sector in any country that is not interrelated with the mining activity, be it transport, be it pharmaceutical, be it road and construction, industrialization. There is no sector that is not interrelated with mining. So anybody who is interested in coming to mine and invest with us, we welcome that person, or we welcome that body. Already we keep on receiving a lot of interesting bodies wanting to come and partner with us. But the framework or the environment which can actually give these foreign investors to come and work is not there. Mm-hmm. And that is the problem. So until when these problems are solved, there is nothing, no foreign investor will come and put in his billions or millions of hundreds of dollars without the necessary the variable environment that can give him the confidence to come and invest and take his money back.
All right. Thank you very much, President Miners Association. We'll return to you. Let's bring in again the Honorable Minister. Is government's policy to encourage increased proliferation of artisanal and small-scale miners, notwithstanding the jobs that might be created and the pittance that in aggregate form they contribute to the country's gross domestic product? I'm asking this question against the widely held view that the big push that you require to get mining to actually contribute will come from big investors. And the big investors and artisanal miners cannot play on the same pitch. If anything, artisanal and small-scale miners are said to be a hindrance to the big players on the one hand, and also environmental spoilers on the other. So exactly what are we looking at?
Well, it's nice you brought it that way. I'll quickly, please, digress a little. One, we need to be careful to say, like my Senate chairman said, to bring states as players into mining. No, we shouldn't do that. Because it's a slippery slope and nobody knows where it will lead us to.
Why?
The states are encouraged to participate in mining as corporate entities. And there is no state in Nigeria today, I dare say, that does not have a corporate body that's participating in mining. Whether it's Omoluabi, a company in Osun, or Nasarawa State Mining Corporation. You can come in, any state can come in as a corporate entity. But you don't want the state to participate because, like I said, it's an exclusive list. But people are beginning to mistake that, look, yes, we've got these minerals, and why can't we, as a state, exploit it? Then we need to look at, yes, we've partaken in some people, other people's lunch. Oil and gas belong to some people. Everybody is partaking. On an exclusive list. River State can say, oh, the oil is mine. Okay, I'm only going to do it. It comes to that. Everybody has fared very well on the oil and gas where they are located without the state agitating. Because the 13% derivation that we do in oil, we also do it in mining. Whatever is realized from your state, the states get 13% derivation. So that should suffice for the activity. And states that are willing to participate come on to us as the regulator with their corporate bodies, and we grant them license. Having said that, artisanal miners, like I said, are quasi-legal. These are people, like I said, they are people who are just eking out a living and all that. Rather than throw them into the unemployment market, what we do essentially, we got a department in the ministry, it's called Artisanal Small Scale Mining Department, ASM Department, is to formalize these people, organize them. When you organize them, you see, there's now strength in number. You aggregate them together, and then that is when you can now offer the kind of assistance that the president of Miner Association is talking about. You see, you give an individual artisanal miner money, you can't find him the next day. He's gone. But when you aggregate them together and they form a body, that body, which is now formally recognized, like a cooperative, formalized, can now be granted a license, a small-scale license to work in a particular area with all those who belong in. And then you can extend funding to such a body because they're now formalized. And they've now become co-guarantors to each other. That is what we are doing. So while we are not discarding with the artisanal miners, we are trying to formalize them, organize them, and all that. You can't take away their living. Two, they're not so much at variance with investors that are coming, just like the president said. When investors do come, they can collaborate with these artisanal miners. And what is done in mature mining jurisdiction, essentially, is that, look, when you have a cadastral area, that's what we use to demarcate our mining areas. One cadastral unit, you can have 1,000 cadastral units. You leave certain areas, in consideration. Like, if a big body comes now, like Rio Tinto, and say, oh, you are giving them 10,000 cadastral units, and you know there's bankable data before they will come in. Just at the edge of it, you can say, okay, they have 10,000, leave 5,000 there for that artisanal miners who are now formalized, not all the scavengers, who are now formalized into group, and they're also mining besides them. Even they encourage them to do that, because now there can be harmony. If you do not allow them to work, they're going to disturb you. And these people work at different levels.
And they get shot, as in South Africa.
Who gets shot?
That's artisanal miners who disturb the big miners.
Well, that's when it's not harmony. That's what I said. If everybody knows this area, there's no problem. There's no overlap. This guy's got a big area of about 10,000 cadastral units. You got your own about maybe 1,000 cadastral units that you're working, and nobody overlaps. And besides, you see, when it comes to deep mining with investors, it's not the kind of mining the artisanal miners can do as small-scale miners. There's a shaft in South Africa when I was there that goes about 4 kilometers down into the earth. This is not something that you're going to spend, that the kind of money that artisanal miners can come up with, no matter the kind of funding government gives them. No, these are things that will cost several billions of dollars to invest into. They need to give deep down. And what the artisanal miners do essentially is to scratch the surface.
Gold panning.
Yes. So what they do essentially is scratching the surface. We don't want to get rid of them, but they are not, at the same time, they're not in the way of the serious investors, like I said, whether locally or internationally. But why we've not had that, he said, is you need to reduce the sector. Rio Tinto is not going to come when there is a gamble. No, nobody's going to come when there's a gamble. They must be sure that, look, when we put in $1 billion into this hole, we're going to bring out $10 billion from it. That's the bankable report from the competent person who are recognized worldwide. Once a report is signed by a competent person, they are recognized worldwide. Say, oh, yes, this man says yes. Down there, at today's price, the goal there is $10 billion. And I look at okay, what's my investment to bring it out? I need $2 billion. Okay, that leaves me the profit. The Rio Tinto will run to come. The BHP will run to come. The big companies will run to come and do it. And that's where we need to get to, is the data, and data. Everybody talks about this. DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, is like a banana republic. Everybody's shooting each other on the street. But the big miners are there. Once there is money, they will go. Forget about all these things in Nigeria, where there is infrastructure or not. They will create their own infrastructure. In Australia, most of the infrastructure that was built for mining was done by the companies. All they need to know, that's why data is the most important thing. Once you tell this man what is there is profitable, he will find a way to get there.
So Honorable Minister, I'm really concerned about the issue of data because, I don't know, it is the government that is responsible, to get this data down. While initially I was telling you about 1999 and all of that, it's just because we've had to talk to ministers who had been in that your position for a very long time, who also come up with roadmaps and what have you. Perhaps they didn't work, right? That's why perhaps you didn't meet such documents on your desk when you came in. But we also hear about the gestation period within which the contractual agreements can be reached with those big names in the mining industry and the globe that will come to Nigeria. So I'm now worried as to why has this gestation period lasted so long? We've not had any mechanized mining in Nigeria up to date. And there is even no, futuristically, we're not even sure in the next 2-3 years that we're going to have one mechanized mining in Nigeria. So all these explanations, that are germane, that are genuine, I appreciate that. Data and what have you. But ordinary Nigerian is looking for a time where we say, look, from next month, so company has been, every construction agreement has been reached, and they're landing Nigeria to commence mining. That's what our people want to hear. With all the other structures, fine and good. They're good. They're good on paper. So I want to bring you in.
I would like to answer that. Sorry, sir, my chairman.
No, go ahead.
I'd like to answer that. You see,
ahead.
When you say gestation period, it's the same thing we are talking about. Gestation is exploration. Nobody wants to come into uncertainty. That's the risk. So, and I've told you, everybody's been paying lip service to it until President Muhammad Buhari gave us money in 2017. So that's why you can't see anybody. If you keep talking about it tomorrow, nobody will come. These big companies will not come into a risky situation. Like I told you, there can be gold in this your room now. And I dig down there, I spent $200 million to reach where the gold is. And when I find the quantum of gold is only worth $50 million, what have I done? I've lost money. That's what you call is not commercially viable. So somebody needs to determine that deposit by exploration to say, yes, and that's when you sign people. And we have just started. The money we are talking about, that the 30 billion, is small compared to what we need to do that gestation period that you're talking about. Yeah. We need more funding for exploration. Is when you have bankable data, and that's what I'm saying, that we're beginning to get the kind of interest we never had before. When we never go, the roadshows we were talking about before, they were just roadshows for because there was no data to carry along. People go on roadshows and say, we have this in this country. Everybody just laugh at you. But when you go with data, because when we go to all these roadshows in recent times, it's not us talking. Me, I go on the podium as a minister and I give just a short speech. And I introduce the competent persons who are working in Nigeria now. It costs us a lot of money to get those people to work with us. The competent person comes on the podium and says, yes, in Nasarawa, we have this and all that. People believe him. And that's why we are getting interest. People are coming. Because every exploration activity in Nigeria now has this competent person there. And that is why when you say gestation, yes, you will never get to that El Dorado unless you spend the money.
Exactly.
You must spend the money. It's capital intensive to do exploration. Even, like I said, we'll praise President Muhammad Buhari for doing that. But that money is even inadequate. We're asking for more. We need more money to do more.
Part of what Kieran is, my colleague is asking is, fine, potential investors have shown interest. When are they likely to move to site to begin the development?
Let me tell you that. We already have them. I told you about the Canadian company. They are doing what you call the mechanized mining. They are doing proper mining in Oshu there. That's the Canadian company quoted on the Toronto Stock Exchange. They are in Nigeria.
What's the name of the company?
It's Tor Exploration. They are doing Segulola Gold Project. That's what yes, it's a Canadian company. They're already here. Now, the one that interests me more, that excites me the more, is a locally developed company. It's called Multiverse. They're in Nasarawa State there. They're doing lead and zinc. And of course, they got sulfur, which they want to produce phosphoric acid from. It's a local company that was developed here, local investors. They are quoted on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. This company, they're the first company to build a shaft. They got a shaft about 250 meters down. So it's not artisanal. They go down 250 meters. That's modest when you look at some kind. But already we have people who are doing mechanized, and that's because of the progress we've made. Yes, maybe a few number. I've named two for you. There are even some other people, like people who are also doing lead and zinc in Ebonyi. But the number will grow with the proportion amount of data that you can provide for them.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Bankable data, that's very interesting. It's now key,
Yes, without
that, you cannot do anything. And there's no company that would like to come and say, look, there's zinc here, and they don't have the quantum that could give them, yes. I attended a show sometime in 2007 or so in Plateau State. It was like a fair, of the minerals in Nigeria. In fact, there's no state in Nigeria that doesn't have something. Right, but because of the data we're talking about, you're not sure of the quantum of what is there, and that can bring in someone, who is going to invest his money into it. So, Tanko and Makora, you said something, at your opening salvo, that you want to legislatively see how, you can untie, some of the issues and some difficulties surrounding, the framework of mining in Nigeria? Because of course you have noted that there are such issues. Now, to what extent have you gone, doing that at the Senate?
And what are those knotty issues?
Sorry?
And what are those knotty issues that you wish to streamline?
Okay, thank you very much. Before that, let me make certain clarification when I talk about concurrent legislative responsibility between the state and the federal government. It is not like I was thinking maybe the state would take a chunk of what the ministry is is supervising in terms of production in that sector. What I mean by that is a situation where, like the minister has said, exploration to determine strategic minerals. These studies have been done, and about 6 strategic minerals have been identified, like gold, barytes, iron ore, limestone, coal, and lead zinc, I think. So the relationship is such that the federal government should take the responsibility of giving the states this data, like this strategic mineral, where it operates, where it's available in the state. The state should be called upon to be given the data and be encouraged to set up an SPV where they can exploit the resources within their state. If the state doesn't have the capacity to locate the right kind of miners that will come to do that, the Federal Ministry of Mine and Steel Development has a data bank that goes across the world on knowing who is the best miner in limestone, who is the best miner in barytes, who is the best miner in gold. And by so doing, they'll be able to link up the states with these strategic mining companies that will come to the state and participate in the exploitation of the minerals in that state. The ministry will also find a way of easing the communication between the state and the experts, especially when they collaborate with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to find details about those kind of companies that they would want to link up with the various states, so that they will be able to have a seamless relationship to the benefit of the state. And if the state wants, the state can have its own corporate structure that can partake in private or joint venture kind of exploitation of the minerals. So I think with that, the ministry has a role to play in ensuring the state benefit from that. That's what I'm talking about, concurrent legislative responsibilities. With regard to the bottlenecks in the system, if you look at the 2007 Mineral Acts law, you find there are certain confusion and contradictions that need to be straightened out. This is why the ministry has had, the Senate committee has had many engagements with the ministry and stakeholders, especially the Mining Association, where we now have those areas, gray areas that need to be legislated upon to make it seamless for the operation of that sector in the country. Having got that data, we'll go back to the Senate, report back to the Senate, and legislate, make bills in line with the complaints and inputs that we have already acquired from the brainstorm we have had with the stakeholders.
All right, Elijah Kabir, the Miners Association, let's bring you once again into the conversation. Earlier, I raised the point of the conflict, usually between federal authorities and state authorities, and there is a body that the state government set up for liaison with small-scale and artisanal miners. How much of a challenge is this to the members of your association in terms of either overlapping or sometimes even conflicting jurisdictional authority over sites and mining operations?
Yeah, thank you. There is a real problem in this aspect of conflicting authorities that we are having in the field between the states that we are operating and the federal government, which has the overall authority on mining activity. And that is not easy for us to operate in a situation where you find that the state is now claiming to own the site and by proxy owning the what is inside on the land. Meanwhile, as the Honorable Minister and His Excellency have all said, the prerogative rights of it's an exclusive right of federal government authority for all mining activities, be it oil or solid minerals. So you find that we are having those challenges, and they are not making it easy for us to operate. And unless it is being streamlined and eased out, so that there will be a free flow of law and the responsibilities within the mining activity, it is not going to be a problem for us for a long time to come. And I'm happy it has been digested. I'm sorry. I have to make a point here. We are talking so much about exploration, senior miners and coming into the country, or large-scale exploration. Agreed, we need it. But we seem to be forgetting the role of these artisanal and small-scale miners, who are 90% of the actors in this sector.
Yeah, but we said that already. I mean, you can't get big bucks, as the saying goes, from those artisanal small miners.
No,
you cannot get
you
big
cannot
anywhere
get
around
big
the
bucks,
world.
sure.
Yes.
But you have to start somewhere.
And we've been there for many decades.
Because the government has not given it the right direction, the right input, the right support. We will have gotten somewhere by now. If the artisanal and small-scale miners had been given the right support financially and capacity-wise.
Under normal circumstances,
yes.
I will agree with you totally that for decades now, if artisanal mining has been giving a push from the government part, for now would have graduated into something else.
Yes.
Right, because we are talking about gestation period, exploration and all of that, and decades are gone,
yes.
and nothing yet happened. Yet, artisanal miners are consistent. They're still there,
yes.
mining, and taking care of their families. And if something has come, to push them up, they would have moved on to a level, even as we wait for the bigger to come in. Well, that's maybe a matter for another day. But you have rightly said, what Kingsley asked, the issue of conflicting or overlapping acts and all of that. These are issues we've always had in Nigeria in all sectors. When acts come, this one comes, if this framework comes, and everything comes and becomes so cloudy that we cannot make sense out of something. It is sometimes very simple, but because there are so many interests, we need to have issues. Otherwise, mining, which was ignored when oil came, would have been at a higher echelon now in terms of GDP and what have you. So, gentlemen, it's been a very healthy conversation this morning. We're going to take a short break. When we return, the conversation really continues, and of course we'll take on the minister on some of the issues raised. This is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Do stay with us.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19, a corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 2255 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white cloths, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it. Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white cloths, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
We have observed the lockdown. We have practiced the measures in order to curb the spread of the virus, but we can do better. The coronavirus spread is increasing daily, and only together can we cut down the numbers and defeat the spread of the virus. Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, and a recovered patient cannot spread the disease. Do not stigmatize. Do not hesitate to report any case, or if you have come in contact with anybody that has been infected with COVID-19. If you have cough and fever, please stay at home and call your state hotline. Find state numbers at www.covid19.ncdc.gov.ng. Remember, it is for your own good and for the good of every Nigerian. Let us do better and defeat the virus. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
All right, welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on NTA's network service. We still have all our guests here. Of course, we'll not be talking about the environment surrounding mining in Nigeria, but there's also the very critical aspect which relates to steel development. And the touchstone for Nigeria's steel development is Ajaokuta. Honorable Minister, Ajaokuta has been in doldrums now for nearly 4 decades. And we've had guests on Good Morning Nigeria over the years talk about what they will do with regard to Ajaokuta. The 8th National Assembly made some effort in passing a resolution. The House of Reps members went there and said, look, they were going to get Ajaokuta completed because we're dealing with the last mile, as the saying goes. And then, of course, Nigeria will be straight on the path of industrialization, which is solidly linked to Ajaokuta. What is the story now out of Ajaokuta?
Well, Ajaokuta, it's promising. We've gotten to a point where we've got the right traction. In the past, Nigerian government has tried other systems to complete Ajaokuta. One is concession. You know, we tried with the Americans, we tried with the British India, and it failed. Now we've gone back to the original builders of Ajaokuta. Ajaokuta was built by the Soviet Union, and then it was essentially the Ukrainians and the Russians under Soviet Union who built Ajaokuta. And we've gone back to the Russians now, you know, with funding, promised funding for some people, that's pledges and all that. So Ajaokuta is on track. We're in the process of bringing in the experts from Russia to do what you call an audit, and then the audit will lead to a bill, what you call the BEME, the Bill of Engineering Measurement and Evaluation. And once that is done, we can begin to negotiate and all that. But essentially what we are trying now is what we call build, operate, transfer. These experts that are coming to build Ajaokuta, and they're going to operate it for a length of time to recoup their money. This money that's coming. So without recourse to the federal government. That's the essential thing, that Ajaokuta as a complex will pay for that money. A business case has been established for that. That, look, yes, if Ajaokuta could be running, it will pay back its loan and make profit. So that is on its way already. And we had a very, very good outing Thursday and Friday last week when the Senate leadership, and the chairman and his committee came to Ajaokuta and Itape to see what is happening there. That gladdens my eye because we're getting the right support from the National Assembly for this to get the right push. So I think, God willing, Ajaokuta should be realized this time through the system. Everything is on. We are good to go. COVID has slowed us down. We've lost about 6 months due to COVID, or 5 months, because the Russians were supposed to be on ground in March, early March, and they were going to take 3 months. So we should have been talking about, okay, negotiation for the actual work now. But yes, the audit is yet to start until this international travel and all that is lifted. So we're on the right course. This is force majeure. Nobody could have thought COVID would come and disturb us. But like I said, we're on course, and by the grace of God, before the end of this tenure of the President Muhammadu Buhari, Ajaokuta should be in production.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to that because when you talk about Ajuokuta State Complex, it's always been a dream for so many years now. If you had a trip to that environment, you discover that whoever laid that foundation meant well for Nigeria, but unfortunately it didn't work out as it was planned. But now that we're having a new push, towards that, let's hope that Ajuokuta is going to be realized. But I want to bring in Tanko Almakora here. You were there, Ajuokuta. What's your take?
Thank you very much. When we went to Ajakuta with the encouragement of the leadership of the Senate, we went with the sole purpose of seeing for ourselves what efforts the ministry and the company are doing towards reactivation of the plant. But as you go into Ajakuta, go into Itakpe, what strikes your mind is the kind of vision Shehu Shagari had over 30 years ago, which is still relevant, about 40 years, which is still relevant today. If that factory or that plant had been made to work, the issue of diversification would have been a foregone matter in the country.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, governments after governments since Shagari, because of the petrodollar in the oil and gas industry, they have abandoned and didn't care about the potential that has in driving the Nigerian economy. And we are more concerned with oil and gas to the extent that after all these years, the companies, the plants went moribund. But the good news is that the present administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, in its effort to diversify the economy, is being committed towards reactivating resuscitation of this plant. And I think we in the Senate found that to be something that is germane, something that should be encouraged, especially with the effort the President is making single-handedly and in collaboration also with the ministry, where he took a trip to show the seriousness he has towards the reactivation of this plant to Russia, to have this government-to-government negotiation for the reactivation of the plant. And what we saw actually is that the plant portends great hope for Nigeria. And we have seen a lot of things that were encouraging, that in spite of the inactivity of the plant, the ministry, the management of the two companies were passionate and serious about the reactivation of these plants. Because when we went, we saw how all the staff who had been there without any activity are on ground and are focused on their intention to reactivate that plant. Secondly, we have discovered that in spite of the long inactivity, the plants and the different factories that are spread around there were in good condition, because by the time it stopped, Ajakuta was about, I think, 95% completed. Certain activities have been done, iron rods were rolled and things like that. And to see that we even test run some of the management test run some of the factories within the complex shows that the hope for the reactivation of Ajakuta is something that is easy to come.
Thank you very much, Senator. Honorable Minister, you said a while earlier that before the end of this administration, which is in another 3 years, Ajakuta should be up and running, which would be good news. But there was also always the linkage between Itakpe and Ajakuta. And I think there were some legal issues arising from Itakpe. I wouldn't know whether that has been resolved. Happily, the Alaja line, that's to say the rail line, it's up and running now. And because you would need some coking coal, as I said, to be imported, to also assist that. So are you bearing all of this in mind to be sure that the linkages are all in place, and then you can then say, right, so let's fire the plant, because it is said that once the steel plant is switched on, you don't switch it off.
Yeah, at least for a 15-year minimum. Yes, the good thing is that you see all factors have been taken in. You know, you've got a lot of experts working with us. Neomco, Itakpe, that we say, is Nigerian Iron Ore Mining Company. Because you see, when you want to make steel, the most important ingredient that forms about 90% is iron ore itself. So in this case, that's the blast furnace system. That's why that company was specifically built for that purpose, to provide high-grade iron iron to Ajaokuta itself, to the steel plant. That's what they do. They send the concentrate there. There's a beneficiation plant at Neomco. They get the ore out of the ground, and they go through beneficiation and take about 66% iron concentrate to Ajaokuta. That is being taken care of. The audit we are doing involves Neomco itself. But then there are other minerals that are actually required in the production of steel, like dolomite, you've talked of coking coal, which of course we got a solution for. We're no longer going to import, because one of the reasons why Ajaokuta stagnated, it was not going to be sustainable to produce steel while we import coke. That's the coking coal. So it wasn't going to be sustainable. So now we've got some local solutions to that. We're going to get from pet coke, we can beneficiate our coal so that it can cook. All that is being got manganese, dolomite, limestone, everything that will be used we have locally. So we are taking all that into consideration as we go along. And like I said, nobody foresaw the COVID pandemic that has slowed us down. Like I said, force majeure. But we are praying and hoping that this will be realized before the end of this tenure, because everything is set to go. We've taken care of all the, learned from experience, what caused the failure, ab initio, and all that. And when you talk of the legal issues, yes, the Office of the Attorney General and the Bureau of Public Enterprises are handling that angle. What we're trying is that they've tried to extricate both Neomco and Ajaokuta for us to focus on development while they're handling the issue of the legal entanglement. I think now we're in conciliation. We've left arbitration temporarily, where we've been asked to go into conciliation, where you can do some agreements, and the agreements are progressing fine. And that because I'm briefed, while I'm not part of it, they brief me occasionally on where they are. But it's the Office of the Attorney General and the Bureau of Public Enterprise that's handling the legal entanglements we've had in the past. So
I was just wondering, Kieran, we talk about infrastructure at all times. The Honorable Minister said to suggest that, look, the big players themselves, when they arrive for mining activities, they can provide their own infrastructure. But specific to Ajaokuta, you talked about coal. We've had a guest here on Good Morning Nigeria a couple of years ago, and they are into coal mining around the Kogi area. Now, where are the rail linkages for them to take their mined coal, whether it's Kogi or whether it's from Enugu? Where are the rail lines that will take them? Is it when you are through with all of these agreements, we now say, oh, sorry, we didn't think about this in the first instance, so now we have to start building rail lines, maybe 100 kilometers in terms of total. They say, okay, we want to go and get a loan. We have to go and get a loan. Yeah, so,
give us that. Give that to us. I think like I mentioned to you, I said economic corridors. This is what I'm talking about. It's not just for Ajaokuta and all alone. You cannot build rail lines to every location. What you do, and that's what I call the spines. What we've got is that you see, in some cases, you have to transport by the waterway, where the closest point is the waterway, and that's the cheapest form. It's even cheaper than the rail. When you take goods by the waterway, it's cheaper. All these flat bottom barges that Sea-Link is doing for us, it's a lot cheaper than rail. I can tell you that.
But what about cargo tonnage?
Oh,
all you just need is a car.
The barges can even take more than the rail can take.
I don't agree with you.
I'm agreeing. I'm telling you this. Look, take it from me authoritatively. You can link 100. Even Ajaokuta itself was built by those barges. All those equipment you see in Ajaokuta was transported
just by the riverside.
Yes, there's a river port in Ajaokuta. Yes. They are taken by the barges. Even in America, they transport. You can link about 1,000 of those barges. Once the truck can pull them, you can. So even more than the rail wagons that you have. Each one you put things and then you link them up and just wondering. I don't know whether you've seen Okobaba, they call something like Okobaba in the Butemeta and all that. And people who bring timber products all the way from Edo and all that. They come by water and they link all this thing. It could stretch for miles. And they drag it over the water to arrive at Okobaba. You see them stretching for miles. They just tie it together, and there's only a talk.
Like a raft.
Yes, these are barges who carry that will put goods on them, and you tie them together, even more than rail wagon, and a lot cheaper.
Well,
anyway, we shouldn't contend about that. So, but we are working on the infrastructure to deliver the minerals, the raw materials to Ajaokuta as under. Some you have to do short road transportation to get to the spine. Some you go to the waterways and all that. But we are also considering that along. It's a whole gamut.
Yeah, but let them also do the maintenance dredging of the River Niger.
That's why we're going.
That's been done already.
Dredging. To be honest with you, Honourable Minister, from your explanations, of course, you have high hopes, and Nigerians are, I'm sure we'll be forced to believe you the way you're explaining some of these things, but they are very complex from my understanding, very complex, and sophisticated, and we hope that they will be realized, because if they are realized, we need to change the course of history of the nation's economy. No doubt about that. All right, we're not leaving you out, Miners Association. Let me just bring you in here with respect to what you think can be done. Now, we're not thinking of how do we get out of the woods. All the issues concerning mining has been raised. Artisanal mining is no longer illegal. They want to now see how you can form bodies so that you can begin to benefit from government, to see whether you can expand your horizon as far as mining is concerned. Because all we have said has shown that, look, before the big ones begin to come in, it will take some time. So what do you think can be done to, of course, give you a little push?
Yeah, thank you. We have about 5 key issues that we want the government and by proxy other financial institutions and the legislature to come in. I could remember, yes, we had a program with the Honourable Minister, His Excellency, and even the Senate President in how to find the way forward, to move the way forward for the sector, especially on us with the small-scale miners. One, funding. If there is no funding, then there is no way we can have a push. Because any sector, any activity can never be possible without funding. And this brings me to the situation where the federal government is in its magnanimity offered like 5 billion about over 2 years ago for the small scale and artisanal miners to have a push financially for it to maybe to go into some little equipment purchase and leasing and maybe small infrastructural push for us to move. But up to now, and thank you, the Honourable Minister is here, and the Senate leader and Senate Chairman, Chairman Senate Committee on Solid Minerals is here.
Have you gotten the money?
We have not gotten the money. And I had to talk with the Honourable Minister on several occasions, and one of his fears, which he has just said some few minutes ago, is that he doesn't want a situation where money is given to us and the money gets missing. I don't know if...
But with the money miss, if you get the money, with the money... Sorry, sir. Are you organized? Are your men organized?
Let me finish. If this money is meant for us, all we have to do is to come together and collaborate with the ministry. Come up with a formula where this money can be put into and then make sure that the money doesn't get missing. But in a situation where that fear keeps lingering, the minister once told me that they are scared, let this money be given to us and it gets missing. So many billions have been given to agriculture and co-borrower scheme. Much more than what we are getting at this paltry.
And we have rice all over the place.
And we have rice all over. Yes. Why is it that why is it that the money never got missing? Have they tried us? Have they given the money to us?
That's a good point. You know what?
Nobody has ever given us money and say that it has gotten missing, so we're scared.
All right.
So let them come and give us
this. That's a good point. But we're getting pressed for time now. I wouldn't know whether the money is already in the ministry or still with the central bank, because the central bank is not very far from us.
With the ministry.
Oh, it's with the, I thought the money,
because it's in the bank of
we don't have the time.
Okay.
Let me just you can respond to it, but take this also along with it. A different subject matter.
Yes.
Bitumen. There is a new policy on the utilization and production and utilization of bitumen. Is this a quick win, or indeed is going to be the same old story all over again?
Okay, I'll do that quickly. Yes, the money is with the Bank of Industry. You see, part of the 30 billion the president gave to us, I said we spent half of that on exploration. We took 2.5 billion out of that, gave to Bank of Industry, and they also matched with 2.5. So we have a 5 billion naira fund, which is meant for artisanal and small-scale miners. The ministry gave it to the bank because the ministry does not have the requisite skill to administer money to people. We're going to fail. So we gave it to people who have the competence, and that's the Bank of Industry. We put the interest rate at 5%. And as of today, about 6-7 people have accessed that money. The reason why it's not more than that, Alhaji Kankara has talked to his people. You see, people see this money as a dividend of democracy, and that's what we don't want. The bank has said, look, if nobody has accessed it, we'll say it's not. But I'm telling you, as of today, 8 people have accessed the money. The maximum you can get there is 100 million. The minimum is about 10 million naira. So 8 people are. So that means if you can fulfill the conditions, you get it. 8 of these artisanal and small-scale miners have got it. Now on bitumen, Nigeria, we had Kaduna Refinery producing bitumen in the past, but that is actually an importation arrangement. Nigeria does not have every crude. We have to get every crude from Venezuela for Kaduna Refinery to produce it. But Nigeria is blessed with tar sands, which is mining, from which you can produce bitumen, and that's what we're working on now. Like, because you said we're short of time, we're about to go for bidding auction, where people, just like in the oil field, they build for the blocks and they can mine the tar sands and produce
Thank
bitumen.
you, Honourable Minister.
So that's where we are.
I think it's a bold step being taken now, because in all sectors we have such situations, because we have always come late in terms of looking inwards and seeing what we can do. We believe in importation. Things that are here with us, we want to get them imported into the country. I'm happy that this step is being taken for now. Thank you indeed. But I want to assure you this, on behalf of Miners Association, the money is not going to miss. If you didn't miss in the agriculture, it's going to miss.
I'm sorry. Is it purporting to serve as a guarantor?
Wait, my brother. Wait, I'm coming.
I wouldn't know.
I clap for you, Kingsley.
1 second. You see, he is on the same page with me. What we are saying is that we are not even asking for this money to be given to us cash.
Yes.
We need them for equipment, to buy equipment, and lease it out to our members. We don't want the money. It's not as if we want to put the money into our pocket.
Right. So approach the bank.
Fulfill
the conditions
And the bank will bring in stringent measures. Very more difficult.
It's credit management. Yes.
I think another way to fast track the support for artisanal small-scale miners is to replicate what the presidency has done in the field of agriculture, like maize, rice, but we should direct it to having a presidential task force that is already being done in gold mining.
All right. You know what, distinguished senator. Our producer and director are already telling us that it is when we have no time that the conversation gets more interesting. But we'd like to appreciate you, distinguished Senator Tanko Makura, former governor of Nasarawa State. He's a great fan of Good Morning Nigeria, by the way. It's also chairman Senate Committee on Mines and Steel. Thank you very much for being around this morning. We also would like to appreciate the President, Miners Association of Nigeria, Alhaji Kabir Mohammed Kankara. Thank you for being on the program. And last but not the least, Architect Olamileko Adegbite, Honorable Minister of Mines and Steel Development. Thank you, and we wish you the very best in your high hopes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and we have a number of tools we couldn't take there this morning. Many of them wrote in to make contributions where we are sorry we can't take your tools this morning. Perhaps the next time we will do that. And Kingsley, we wrapping up.
Yeah, we're wrapping up. So thank you for being with us. Remember, take personal responsibility. Stay safe and beware. We are back tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Kirian Umayo. Have a great day.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Welcome to Thoughts for the Week. And we're talking proverbs, wise sayings, allegories, you name them, things that help us to understand life better. And we use them to talk about things happening around us today. And most of the proverbs I get from here, I hope you know